Science is a way of knowing. It's an area filled with experiments, theories, procedures, and hypotheses, and it's a process of understanding the world around us and the inner workings of it. Typically, science leads us to believe that it's for the smart kids and is therefore out of reach for many students, and many times kids are encouraged to pick one area to focus on and then lose out on the connections between those different strands. So if you take, for example, biology all the way through school, you're missing out on the connections that it may have to environmental science or physical science. But science is also for people who are filled with curiosity and questions about how the world works. It's meant to be experienced, not read, which is something that I've had a revelation about this semester. The course text says, "A child's sense of wonder can be lost or diminished, and with it, the desire to learn," from page 11. Science and knowledge are based on questions people had about the world before it was stifled and packaged neatly into school textbooks. The basis of science is curiosity. Without curiosity, there would be no questions, no answers, no theories or discoveries. If we stifle the curiosity in our students, we're preventing them from having a joy of learning and wanting to know and figure things out. Indigenizing education means that you're connecting your learning with your heart. And when you care about your learning, you're more likely to remember it. Teaching is all about helping kids see the connections between their lives and what they are learning, which helps keep that curiosity alive. And taking children out of the classroom and into their local environment is another way to decolonize education. From the course text on page 82, an Indigenous sense of place grounds spirit in a physical space, making it impossible to consider our surroundings as separate from ourselves. We can help students view the land as part of themselves and help them see the reliance on the land or Mother Earth rather than just the place we live or as an economic source. How students think about their actions and being will change completely. You are creating more thoughtful and environmentally conscious students. Students will ask deeper questions and be more ethical and reciprocal with their interaction with and on the land. Science is also about more than just answering all of the answers correctly on a test. Does your student show that their understanding on that topic has grown? Do they ask good questions and create a plan of action to help answer them? The gains and discoveries that a student makes during experiential learning will likely outweigh those made during a worksheet or cramming for a test. Those experiences are forgettable. From the course text, a sense of interpersonal kinship with our place helps ensure integrated learning, bringing biology and history or literature and geometry together to sustain us in spiritual and material ways, from page 104. By creating a relationship with the land, we begin to see connections between all things. Science can be easily integrated into most other subjects. So, for example, English, you can connect through report writing or inferencing and hypothesizing, art for making diagrams or recording observations or making posters. Many science and social and health topics overlap, such as farming and plant life or learning about the body's systems. And again, many sciences require students to use math formulas, and looking into different science careers could connect to career as well. Science is learning how the world around us works, and you use science every day when you make predictions and hypotheses. A huge question I had at the beginning of the semester learning about inquiry and land-based learning is, how do you have time to complete these units? Because in our course text for Lisa's story, the unit took pretty much half the school year. And I was a little put off from inquiry learning because I wasn't sure how you could fit that in when you have so many other subjects and science topics to fit in. But after doing our group assignment, I saw that how easy it was to connect it to other curricular topics and subjects, which makes it a lot more feasible to choose inquiry learning as your way of teaching. Science can contribute to a better world. As mentioned, caring for the earth leads to reciprocity, which means our students are working against climate change, or even just making a little difference in your area can make a huge impact. And if we decolonize science education and make it untraditional by taking the focus away from tests and worksheets, it might encourage minority groups like females or indigenous peoples or those with disabilities to have an interest in science, creating a more balanced playing field in STEM careers. And secondly, accounting for different ways of knowing works towards reconciliation, work towards more social justice. Learning about various aspects in, for example, farming may encourage kids to make a difference in their own communities, like planting a school garden after learning about the plant life cycle, and either giving those plants away to students in the school or giving it to the cafeteria or selling them to make a profit for your classroom or school. To end, what kind of science teacher do I want to be? Part of my teaching philosophy is that I want to make school a fun place to be, a place where students enjoy going, which translates to science, because a lot of my science learning was out of a textbook, and science was always my least favorite subject. I want science to be a hands-on learning experience, and I want them to exit class remembering something and being able to apply it in some sort of real-world situation. I want them to get outside and experience the world in a new way. I want them to make a difference in the world. And whether that's something small in your community, like cleaning up, or like I said, having that school garden, or maybe it's adopting an endangered animal, like I mentioned in our assignment 3. Or maybe it's creating some sort of social media campaign about an ecological problem and raising awareness for it. Whatever it is, I want them to learn new things and make a difference in some way. For my visual, I have this first part here, just because this is what I think of when I think of traditional science, is textbook and experiments. This little collage here, because we're supposed to care for our Mother Earth, and when I mentioned curiosity, like when we're connected to our Earth, we ask a lot more meaningful questions and dig for the answers. And then I have making a difference, because at the end I mentioned that was a huge part of my teaching philosophy. I want my students to make a difference in the world, like planting a garden. And then just around it, I have a bunch of different things to go along with each subject that science can connect to. So math, there's a math formula. English, she's talking. Health and wellness, getting outside is so good for your mental health, and also it gets you moving. So kind of connects to the wellness there. I have cooking, which I didn't mention, but you can cook with food. And like doing measurements and stuff that helps you with measuring in science and math. And then career, obviously looking into different careers. Art, so they have just a little, this is English as well, but just like a little write-up, and then drawing what they observe. What they're observing is this 3 sisters, learning about indigenous crop planting and ways of life. And then I have a Saskatchewan for social studies, because farming is a huge industry in Saskatchewan. And then just in the corner here I have putting out roots and reciprocity, because I think that those 2 things are very rooted in the inquiry learning that we talked about all throughout the semester, and that when you put out roots and make connections to your land, you're more likely to have more of a reciprocal relationship, rather than one where you just live off the land or use it for some purpose without caring for it. That's my visual. Science.